Welcome back to the channel. Today on the bench we have a MIM player jazz bass, and we are going to set this thing up. We're going to make it look, how about that? We're going to make it, well, we're not going to make it look better because it's beautiful, but we're going to make it play better. And you're going to come with me, but before we get started, I appreciate that so much. Okay, the first thing is that we need some plutonium. Yeah, the first thing I'm going to do is tape off this neck. I'm going to get it as straight as I can get it. And then we're going to start addressing the high frets. You're going to learn how to do that. Come along for the ride. And that's what really makes your guitar play good, is when when all the frets are leveled. So these four, 1, 2, 3, and this one, the fret is not that high. This one's a little bit higher and it's a little bit wider, but really not bad compared to other guitars. I mentioned in my last video the Player Plus Precision that had 3 high frets, and I just could not make that bass play good, and the customer didn't want to spend $140 for the complete setup, which eliminates high frets and dresses and polishes the frets, among other things. So anyway, we're going to do everything. We're going to throw everything in my arsenal to make this thing play its absolute best. So let's get going. Now, one thing that kind of stinks with this bass is the tuners, especially this one. It's crappy. So I'm thinking I'd like to lubricate them. I don't want to put grease on them. I don't put graphite on them. I'm going to use a little bit of synthetic motor oil because they're terrible. I can get some right in there and move it all the way around. These are some pretty cranky tuners. They really need this. So I don't want to get them soaking wet, but enough where it'll go all around that gear, and then I'll wipe them off. But this guy's really bad. All right, I've got some lube on there. Real easy. This one's got like a bump on it. Bump, 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 bump. Yeah, the tuners could be better. No doubt about that. I wiped off any excess oil. I was careful. I just put a little drop on and kept turning. I didn't want to put graphite. Graphite's dry, but it can make a mess, though. Yeah, a little bit of a... They all have play that way, but this one's the one that's nasty. So, okay, let's move on to the setup. Now, there's about 3 ways to get the neck straight. There's 4. You could just use your eyes. You could use a straight edge on it, like so. You could use a notched straight edge. This one is for Fender and Gibson scale or Gretsch scale, but it's not for a bass. Okay, now I'm just gonna double check my straight edge, just laying there. I think I see some space in there. So yeah, there's some space there. So I'm going to adjust the truss rod and take this out. And when you do this, make sure it doesn't rock. Because if it rocks, then the truss rod has made the neck a little bit backbowed. You don't want that. And I can already see here that number 12, I remember number 12 was that was the highest of all the frets. So I think it's pretty good right there. It's not letting this 0.02 of an inch get in there. So that's what I would call the neck straight. I usually put a piece of tape here, so then when I put the tape across, then I can pull off it all at once instead of a whole bunch of little tapes. For anyone interested, the frets are about 40 thousandths tall. I expected them to be a little taller, but that's what they are. Okay, now let's get to the real nitty gritty. As Nacho said, basically, what you're doing is going to try to rock it like that motion. Yeah, these 3 frets they're level. They're all level with each other. So I go to the next one. Oh, hear that? So it's high. It's not high there, but then it's high again over here. Just a little bit. So basically, I'm going to record on the tape next to the fret where the fret is high. That's really important. This is really an easy process. You can hear it rocking there pretty good. But it's a little bit over here too. Just a little bit. So I'm going to get a marker and I'm going to put lines on it right where the fret is high. So I'll know exactly where to deal with it. And I'll show you how we deal with it. But first I'm going to go up the whole fretboard and mark where they're high. Well, upon very careful rocking with my fret rocker, I found a lot more high frets. This one I knew about. And basically what it means is the dots are, I keep testing it. I put the dots on the line means it's high all the way across. See, then it's not high, then there's a little high piece there. Right? Like here, it's a little bit high there and it's a little bit high there, not in here. So there was a lot. There was 5, I think, originally. Now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. They're mild cases, but still, really, 14. Come on, Fender. Put your frets in the right way. So basically, what I'm going to do is I have some 600. Pretty fine. And I'm just going to go over this with the 600 and keep checking it. You can hear it rocking. I just keep going back and forth until there's no rocking. Then I'll just move to the next one. And that's how I do it. I'm going to use 600. I want to be fine. I mean, I could do it really fast if I use something coarser. But I'm going to be going over all these frets. And I'll probably start with 6 or maybe even 800. It's just mostly going to be a polishing. So basically, just going to start going like this. I'm holding the camera with one hand. There's a little spot right there. And then basically, I'm going to still hear it. So I'm going to go over it a little bit more. It takes a while. A little bit of patience involved here. You don't want to go too far. A little bit more there. It's going to take a little while because I'm using fine sandpaper, so I'm not going to film this whole thing. But you get the point. Keep sanding, but test a lot. Test with the rocker because you don't want to make it You don't want to make this fret lower than these two. You just want to make them all even. And sometimes you'll be done here, but you'll still have to go over here. And if it's easy for you to forget, if you have a forgetful mind, you could just go like this. Okay, like I've got to still go here because that's good. You could mark the fret like that if you wanted to. You know, you saw that high speed of that little teeny, you know, a little more than quarter-inch piece of the fret that was too high. So, you know, it would take a long time to show you me doing all of them. But you get the gist of it. You sand it and then you test it. You just go a little bit at a time. And I am using some really fine sandpaper, 600 for this, because I don't want to scratch up the frets. And I want to take my time getting to where they're all level. I don't want to have something so coarse that it races right through and then the fret is too low. So this is one of those things that it will take a little bit of time, but in the end, it'll come out great. I could probably take a file and go over all of them, but they did that and they're still high frets. So I'm just taking off just the parts that are high. Then we'll address them all. So I'm going to go through the rest of these. And there's a lot to do here. It's going to keep me busy for a while, so here I go. Okay, so I've got all the high frets taken care of. There was 14. I thought there was 5 when I did the unboxing and gave it a quick overview, but on closer inspection, 14. And I used 600, like I said earlier, because I don't want to race into knocking the fret down too much and then have it too low. So now what we're going to do is dress all the frets. So I'm going to mark all the fret tops with a black magic marker first before we start. All right, so I've got all the frets, all the high frets are taken care of. I'm going to dress them all. I might use the straight edge that I have and go over, but first I'm going to dress the last couple frets, and I'm going to dress them a lot. I like to always do the last few frets more than the rest, because usually if there's a hassle buzzing, it's because of them. So I'm just going to take this hard piece of plastic and just kind of do these a little bit more than the rest. Especially that last fret. Okay, now I'm going to use my straight edge. I'm going to be careful here. Don't want to hit the pickups. Go over these guys. You could use a radius block too, probably be a lot easier than doing it this way. Okay. So here you don't see any marker. All the frets have been gone over now with 600. So I'll probably hit it a little bit more with the 600 with my piece of plastic. I'm going to go over it a little bit more, kind of in a circular pattern, because this was kind of just this way here. And now I'm going to round the edges of the frets a little bit. Just kind of go over the edges with the same 600. Just got it rolled over. You can see that there. See if I can get some more light over here. Now we'll do 800. Okay, I've gone up to 3,000. And everything, all the high frets are taken care of, all the frets are dressed, and now we're going to polish them. And for you mother lovers, we're going to use Mother's Mag and aluminum polish. Now, because I've gone up to 3,000, this is a quick operation. Okay, so now we want to wipe off all the frets, get rid of all that polish. So next I'm going to pull the plastic off here and get these strings back on. Okay, so now I'm almost tuned to pitch. Pretty close. I'm going to adjust the truss rod and get this neck straight because put my finger here, put my thumb here. There's a lot of relief, remember, because I had the strings off. I had to get the neck straight, so now I'm going to adjust the truss rod. I mean, it's common sense, but I'll say it anyway. Make sure you got the right Allen before you start doing things like this. If you mess up that hex bolt in the neck, yeah, you'll wish you had have taken your time. And I'm gonna just give it. I don't want there to be much relief at all. I want it to be almost totally straight, just a little bit of relief. That's kind of a preference, how much of relief you want. Ooh, okay. Give her a little tune. These tuners are the E string, the action's pretty stinking low. And I haven't done the action. I'm going to adjust the action now. That takes a while. It's basically lowering each saddle and playing up the neck until you hear it buzz. And then you know, I've got to take it up a little bit because it's buzzing. You don't want it too low. And I'm going to have to get the right Allen because Fender sent me the wrong one. I know I got one, but I'm just surprised they put the wrong one in. Hello, anybody home? This is a US size, 1/16. It fits perfect. Okay, here we're going to do the A string next. Well, we're going to just take it down. Okay. Can you hear it buzzing there, huh? So we're going to raise it up a little bit. All right. Take it up a bit more. You can hear it buzzing. I don't mind it buzzing a little bit, but that's a little too much. All right. And then you got to usually lower the string. It goes sharp. Buzzing a little bit. Maybe a touch more up. Not much. Just a little bit. All right. Good. The action's good. So I'm just going to do the D and the G now. So here is where our action is. Here's the 12th fret. And here's the nut. And I haven't touched the nut, but I think the E is perfect. The other ones are a little bit high. I've got this feeler gauge, and it is 11 thousandths of an inch. And I believe it is the correct one for this. Well, it might be a little bigger. This is probably only 10 thousandths of an inch, and I didn't touch it. But now that the neck is straight, that's why when you cut a nut, when you take material out to lower the strings so they're lower, make sure that the neck is fairly straight or pretty much straight with hardly any relief. Because if it's got a lot of relief and the neck is going like this and there's a lot of relief and then you straighten it, this string will be buzzing on that first fret. So that's another thing to watch out for. So I'm going to take some of my handy dandy files and I'm going to make these other ones 11 thousandths of an inch. Pretty boring stuff, but you got to go slow because if you cut too much off, then it'll be too close to the fret and it'll be buzzing, and you sure don't want that. So we'll take this 11 thousandths feeler gauge, and it's obvious it's got to go down a little bit. So we move it out of the way, get our file, and start filing, but don't go too fast, whatever you do. It's going to take a while. This is going to take a while. Patience. Well, that does it for the nut. And I was looking at the pickups, and here's what I saw here. The bridge pickup looks pretty good. But look at this neck pickup. It's like all crooked, and the one screw's loose. So I'll have to straighten that out a little bit. Okay, I noticed one of the volumes wasn't real tight, so I'm just gonna pop this off, make sure this is tight, and I'll just make sure these are tight. I kind of like to hold the back of the pot when I do that. And we'll get a look inside. Made in Korea pots. Okay, I'm just gonna tighten them all down. Ooh, that's pretty tight. It's our tone. That one was a little loose. Oh, it wants to turn. Okay. Okay, now one thing I like is when the knobs, when the little dot or the line, when I'm with a strap or sitting and I'm holding the guitar bass, when I look down, I want the line to be right in line with my eye. Then I know that volume or that tone is all the way up. So basically I'd be like that. And when I'm looking, I just want it to be straight on. So I don't just put them straight up. I put them in line with where my eyes are when it's on either on my knee or on the strap. They're pretty close, those two things. So that's what I do. These have a set screw, so I'm gonna do that now. So now, as you can see, I can tell when the volumes are all up, and even if I'm sitting down, pretty much the same thing. Well, that just about wraps it all up. So I'll give you one more shot of where the action is. Pretty decent action. And here's the nut. And I am sorry, I didn't have that much lighting today. So I brought in another light here. And it's all set up. So that's what's involved. If you want to take care of the high frets, which there was 14, wasn't 14 frets, but there was 14 spots where the fret was high, because there was a couple where in 2 spots the fret wasn't pushed down all the way. So, I mean, sometimes you could try taking a little piece of wood and hammer and tapping on the fret, but I mean, make sure you know that if it's glued in or not, because if it's glued in and you start banging on it, you might disturb that glue joint and the fret might come even more loose. So sometimes you can just look and you'll see frets that are higher. When you look from this angle here, you kind of, like we know it was high. This fret was high. It's probably one of the worst ones right there. I don't know if you can see if it was higher than like that one. But some you can visually see it. You start sticking a thin guitar pick underneath the fret, it's far too high. So anyway, that is it for setting up a jazz bass. I hope you enjoyed this. Hit that like, subscribe, help me out. And I hope to see you next time. So take care, everybody, and have a great day.